Hello Devin, it's Sunday, November 8th, 2015. Oh gosh, look at the length of this video. It's going to be a long one. Alright, let's get started. I was intrigued by your proposal for an ideal hangman word because it gets into some interesting cryptography and statistics areas. There's a certain merit to having a shorter word. There's less opportunity to randomly guess a letter in the word, so that first guess is the hardest. Of course, people don't usually randomly guess, so you assume they would go through the gamut of 5 vowels. Now to answer your question, I was thinking of a word that only has 1 vowel, and there aren't that many 3 or 4 letter words. If you assume one of those letters is a vowel and the other 2 could be any of the letters, and that vowel could be in any of the 3 spaces, there's like 10,000 combinations, but only about 1% of those are actual words. To answer your question, I think this word, substituting the vowel in the middle, kind of solves the problem. You can use tan, ten, tin, and ton. There's an old English word tun, meaning a cask of wine or the volume thereof, and that's legitimate. There's also a Czech word with a Y, I think it's tine. It means like wall or street or something, but assuming you're relegating yourself to English words, I think we'll leave that one out. So you have 5 possibilities with just 3 letters, and that's powerful. So Y is sometimes a vowel, and sometimes it's not. And Y and X are both really rare letters, so you can just pick a word that's all X's and Y's and try to get it that way. Going back to your idea of changing the word in your head, you could do like Jim, Jip, and Pix. These are nice because they have a Y in the middle but differ by consonant. Interestingly though, Jip is actually a racial slur, which I did not know, so maybe you want to avoid that one. Regardless, if you have a 3-letter word, as long as your tree is 8 layers deep, like you have 8 possibilities to change the word on the player, they'll never win. All you have to do is memorize 256 words in their exact positions and know the structure of the tree going down. Or if the player knows what kind of person you are, they might go for the less common letters, in which case you should go for the more common letters. And this ends up in the Vicini gamut, which I'm sure you're familiar with. At the same time, the game kind of has implicit rules, like it has to be a word in a language you both speak and preferably made of those letters. I almost responded in Tangwar, but I think that's deeper than this video needs to go. Anyway, I think this is where your plan falls apart. You said ideal hangman word, not strategy or chicanery or approach, but word, singular. While it's possible they guessed wrong those 4 times when you were switching words on them, I think you're playing with more words than you're supposed to, and you're sort of pushing, taking advantage of assumptions into cheating implicit rules. Going back to my approach with letter frequency, there's this word, which is pronounced cruths. It's the plural of cruth, which is a Welsh stringed instrument. This is also a morally gray area because things that are Welsh are British, but not actually English, although it is in Webster's dictionary. Let's take another step back and look at what we mean by ideal. In all likelihood, one of these tricks, and I do call them tricks, will frustrate your opponent into quitting. And unless you're for some reason playing like a really high stakes game of hangman, I don't see that as an ideal outcome. A word is not ideal if your friends accuse you of cheating, which, data point of 3, they all have. So, if we take friend of the program Matt's approach, and try to make sure the fun doesn't stop, the ideal word is the one that will bring the most joy when it's revealed. There are a lot of possibilities for this based on shared culture and in-jokes, but psychology gives us a reliable one-time answer. People like things that involve them. Try your opponent's name. Anyway, when I shot the first half of this video like a month ago, it was a beautiful fall afternoon, so I think past me is going to go outside. Which means the quality of this video is going to drastically improve, because ironically, my mobile camera is much better than my webcam. I just got a car, excitingly, around the same time you did, which is kind of interesting. He's this guy over here. His name is Geronimo, and I named him after an Italian mathematician. Actually, it's an anglicization of Girolamo Cardano. Cardano? I can't speak Italian. Unfortunately, that now means I'm wrapped up in car maintenance, which is not nearly as interesting as this guy's life. See, besides being this brilliant inventor and making like the U-joint that makes our cars work, transfers torque from one axis to a slightly different axis, which is actually really difficult, so good on him, and also the gimbals that make GPS work. He also had a hand in algebra, which is why I named my car after him, because, algebra, arrays, matrices, it's a Toyota Matrix. You get it. I'm funny. But besides that, he was also a gambler. And he was an okay gambler, but he was kind of chronically broke. So to keep himself afloat, he invented probability. And he wrote this book on probability that was published years after his death, possibly because it contains these chapters on how to cheat at chess and card games and dice. I think you'd like him, Mr. I can totally use 5 words at once in Hangman Griggs. Yes, I am berating you for that. You thought you were going to get away with it. No. Berating you for your first video reminds me of your more recent one. So like you said, angular and linear momentum are always a net, which is kind of a problem for your whole
spherical momentum thing, unless you use spherical coordinates and model it as like radial momentum. So it's the momentum going out, or if you flip the negative sign, going in. Then you can look at angular momentum in polar coordinates and linear momentum in Cartesian coordinates. And I just love it when things break down like that. There's another problem in that linear and angular momentum are always conserved. But if you look at like a bunch of rocks floating around in space, or a bunch of charged particles in the whole Bohr model of the atom, those forces are going to cause them to like draw in toward each other or repel each other. So even though conservation of energy is respected, because we say there's potential energy in them being some distance from each other, conservation of momentum is not, because they would spontaneously start moving in. So I think it might be an interesting value to tease out of data, but I don't think we can call it momentum for that reason. Speaking of momentum, my daily exercise regimen is gaining some. I just started working out, actually, when you challenged me to do push-ups, which in fact are part of my routine. And you know, frankly, Devin, I don't know if we do push-ups the same way. Like, I think we'd have to compare to make sure we're doing this with, you know, similar scenarios, just for scientific rigor, because I prefer my push-ups to be like one solid down, like touching my face to the floor, and then all the way back up, favoring quality over quantity. Not to disparage your record, but I don't think we can totally compare. All of this is to ameliorate the fact that, Devin, I cannot do 50 push-ups. I cannot do your 42 push-ups. I can manage a measly 26 ups of the push. So, you know, you have me beat there. For now. Whoosh. Devin, I don't know how you do videos. I get the feeling that you just kind of like think about a thing you want to say and then turn the camera on and start talking. But I don't do them that way. Maybe I should. I'm sure your way is easier. But I go out and write a script. And it has stage directions. For which the last scene included makes putsch sound, flexes guns, which, say what you will about your more impressive push-up record and your quicker throughput time for video editing, but I don't think you write stage directions nearly as entertainingly as I do. So to each their own. Okay, I know you had some kind of suggested format for these videos, and in typical Blair fashion, I have not followed it at all. So I think at some point I'm supposed to talk about how I'm doing. So we'll do that now. I'm doing alright. Life is good. I am very much in love with my fiance, and I love her parents, and it's super cool that I can live rent-free, and I have a car, which is great, which takes off the stress of car buying, but adds on the stress of car maintenance. Work is kind of boring, mostly because like I just don't have enough to do, and that's partly because I don't have skills to do the things they need to do. Like, these are $4 million machines, and I'm the little flunky intern, so obviously they don't let me play with them quite as much as I would like to, but that's fine. Frankly, I'm not sure I want to be responsible for the $4 million machine, but there are some days where like I honestly sit at my desk and I feel like I'm doing nothing. And I'm reminded of Colossians 3:23. What is that? This is where a script comes in handy. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters. And because of that, sometimes I feel guilty about, like, not really working. Like, I was taught that you're supposed to put an honest effort into a job, but sometimes there isn't a job to put an honest effort into. And from what I've heard of your work experience, you might be able to empathize with this. Okay, I still need a challenge for you, and as you can see by the sunset, this video is almost over. Devin, what is the most practical lesson you were taught growing up? I'll see you sometime. We don't have an update schedule, so I'll see you in the future.
Cardano, you published my solution to the cubic equation? I sent that to you in a poem, which was private. You dare betray my confidence. Nay, Scipione, that was the work of my student, Ludovico Ferrari. A luxury car? You lie. Now we must duel. On guard.
This scene really happened, by the way. You should look it up.